What's your biggest we need to leave now moments? Unfiltered Confessions, voiced by William Bennett. I was in a mall in Indonesia and two tourists seemed to be having problems communicating with the cashier at a bookstore, so I helped translate. They wanted to buy me drinks to thank me. Told them it's not necessary and I have to get back to my mom soon. They told me to meet them for dinner. Told them I have to have dinner at home. They told me to sneak out and meet them after dinner. At this point, a bookstore staff noticed something was wrong and went up to question them. My sister and I dashed off while they were distracted. Continued wandering around the mall and realized they were following us. To see if we were paranoid, we ducked into a lingerie store since we figured two men wouldn't usually need to go to lingerie shopping together. They followed us in, ran so quickly back to the jewelry store our mom was at. The store had intimidating security guards and I guess that stopped those guys. I was 11, my sister was 10. A couple of friends and I were outside a house party talking. I noticed out of the corner of my eye something dart behind some bushes towards the end of the block, maybe 4 houses down. It was dark out, so it was hard to tell. We stood there a bit long and I swore I saw something again move to a tree a little closer. This wasn't the best neighborhood. Heck, my whole hometown isn't the safest. And I knew a couple people at the party were involved in some stuff, so I don't know if that entered my mind or what, but I got immediate goosebumps. I said, "Let's go now!" A couple of my friends looked at me weird, but later one told me they knew by the look on my face something was up. I apparently looked possessed. I had my keys, so we ran to my car and got in. I didn't even let anyone get their seatbelts on. I just hit the gas. Based on the news stories, less than probably 5 minutes later, a group of people shot up the house we were at. The others standing outside were severely injured or killed. Turns out a couple guys at party were thought to have killed someone's family member, and it was a revenge thing. This was over 20 years ago and I still get nervous if I'm standing around outside, especially if it's dark. So I was waiting at the train station to pick up a friend of mine. I was early, so I decided to stand in the sun right outside of the station. A guy with a bicycle walked up to me asking in broken English if I knew how late the train would arrive. After I answered the question, he stayed around and started talking to me. Now, I know that's not weird at all, but the things he asked and the way he acted and looked just gave me a creepy vibe. Eventually he asked if I would walk with him while he dropped his bicycle off. I didn't want to because the place to store bicycles at the station is very secluded, and to be honest, I didn't want to be alone with this guy. So I knocked out and walked into the station. He started yelling at me, calling me names, but at that moment the rain came in and it got very busy, so he left. A few months later I read this article in the local paper about a girl being sexually assaulted at the station. They had put a drawing of a guy next to the article as he was not yet caught. It was the same guy. To this day, I'm very happy I didn't go with him. I used to drive for Lyft. April 2015, I picked up a young couple from a bar at about 1:30 a.m. They were fairly chill and I figured it would be my last ride of the night. The dude asked me to stop at a corner store on the way to their destination so that he could get cigarettes. I didn't see any harm in waiting, so I stopped and had a nice chat with the young woman while he was in the store. It ended up being about 5 minutes since everyone was trying to get their pre-2 a.m. beer. When I came out, he asked me to take him to a location that was in the opposite direction of their destination, but was only about a mile away. He said he wanted to meet some friends real quick and grab some beer. Since I figured it would be my last ride of the night, I said, "F it, why not?" and drive him over there. Now, I know the town we live in fairly well, but the direction that we're coming from was not the way I was used to going when I would go to this location. When I turned onto the destination street, I missed the turn into the complex parking lot. I just came to a complete stop since the roads were empty and asked them if they just wanted me to park on the street or pull to the complex. This is when the two of them started arguing, as he suddenly wanted to go in and hang out for a few minutes while she didn't want to go in at all. She just wanted him to do his thing and get out of there so they could go home. And then something hit my car. The sound is unmistakable to me, so I immediately started to look around to figure out what it was. But there were no other cars on the road, so that couldn't have been it. Then I moved to the next thing on my mental checklist. If something didn't hit me, then what did I hit? But that didn't make any sense either, as I had been in the park and couldn't have hit anything. It's at this point that the young lady's attitude completely changed. She just kinda looked around and then said, "Can we just get out of here? It hurts and I want to go home." This was odd to me, as she'd been sitting in my car for about 10 minutes at this point and hadn't said a word about any kind of pain. She followed this up with, "It hurts and I can't move." Put her hat to her back and pulled it out covered in blood. What the f***? So the guy starts freaking out, thinking that something in my truck has exploded, but it was empty. As he reached over to tend to her, I noticed something white sticking out of the seat. This hadn't been there at the beginning of the night, so I asked him what it was. He pulled on it. It was a piece of the filter fuzz from my seat. It came out of the hole that had been made in the seat because she had been shot. As soon as he grabbed that fuzz, we both had that same realization. He slammed shut his door and I drove them straight to the hospital, which was only a couple of miles away. That realization, the follow-up realization of, oh, someone could still shoot you while you're sitting here, was one of the most terrifying things I had ever experienced. Holy shit. Was the girl okay? She ended up being okay. I took her straight to the hospital immediately after the incident, as it was only a couple miles away from where it happened. Woodstock 99. Felt the energy of the grossly unpacked crowd, the building rage, and I looked at my friends and said we need to go. They stayed. I left. Shortly after, fires and riots started and my friends lost everything they had with them. Tents, clothes, food, everything. When you have 300k people shoulder to shoulder in 104-degree humidity and charge $4 for a bottle of water and have half as many bathrooms as needed, you're gonna have a bad time. Met this cute girl at a party, spent the whole night dancing and flirting, offered to drive her home and she agreed. We were making out in the car in front of her house when another car pulled up with their headlights beaming at us. I asked if that's a neighbor and if we're blocking their driveway. She replies, no, that's my husband. Husband's car door opened and I knocked the hell out of there, dropped her back at the party and never saw her again. Her excuse was they were separated and he shouldn't have a problem with it. I sure wasn't sticking around to find out.
You and I have a similar story with the very different endings. She went to a party to find someone to kick her ex-boyfriend's ass. I didn't know about this part until after. Just went home with her to smash. I pulled into her driveway and a car blocked me in, and 4 guys pulled up on me. I had no idea what was going on. Before I could get 2 words out, one of them smashed a 40-ounce bottle over my head.
Was 15 or 16 at a house party with my good friend, another girl. They were some gate crashers that turned up, which weren't unusual at London house parties. But these drunk guys were older, and there was just a vibe. A girl I vaguely knew was very drunk and being surrounded by them, and I asked if she was okay, and she told me to fuck off, I'm fine. I looked at my friend and said to her, I'm gonna call my mom and dad to come get me. Do you want a lift? My parents were always amazing and said to me if I was at a party or out, and for any reason I didn't want to be where I was, I could call them and they could come and get me. My parents turned up, coats on over pajamas, and took us both home. Apparently half an hour after we left, someone was stabbed. The girl we had asked earlier was sexually assaulted, and lots of stuff was stolen and people beaten up and held up at knife point. I had such a feel in the air that I've hardly felt before, since we knew we needed to not be there. When I was 15, a friend and I went to a lot of walks around town, a small town around 5,000 people. We were going to the cyber safe in the town to meet a few friends. We often took different streets to get places, just to keep it interesting. We were about to go to the main street off one of the side streets, and a man on a bicycle approached us. He got off his bike and asked us a couple small talk questions. Something didn't seem right about him. He was probably mid-40s. We both kept inching away, but didn't want to come off as too rude, so we answered about the weather or traffic. Then he paused and we said we had to go, but he said, and I'll never forget it,
You look so young. I don't want to get in trouble, but I need to touch someone. I need to touch you. You should come with me.
and he started rambling. I just felt terror, couldn't even speak. I grabbed my friend's hand and turned. We sprinted the rest of the way to the cafe. As soon as we were inside, we asked to use the phone. I called my mom to pick us up while my friend told the worker what happened and what the guy looked like.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more super interesting discussions. In the meantime, you can check out our other videos.